Oh, we're ready, rock and roll.
Rock and roll, yes. Guys, good evening. Thank you for joining us during your working hours. I hope we don't have a lot of agents from your team. Otherwise, we should send them a notice. Today we have a special guest, a superstar. At some point, maybe a person whom I was considering like a competitor on some field, and we will discuss all these things. Please meet Farooq. All of you guys know him. Farooq, thank you so much for coming to.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited, and I'm excited to meet you. I must say you're much taller in real life than you do look on camera.
I can't imagine we just now met.
Yeah, we've met once, I think, at one of the developer here and there and
but
stuff.
That means that you're not going to the developers often.
Not so often anymore.
I remember when we first met. It was in Dorchester.
Dorchester collection. Yes, I remember. Now it just hit me once again when I saw you and you're so tall. I'm like, this guy is making me look short. But it's good. I should have taken the cushion above me. I would have looked a bit taller, I think, on this chair if I sat next to you.
So in Dorchester, I was filming something and you came. You know what? I was surprised about that meeting.
What?
That your guy, he was just with the phone when he was...
iPhone. All my vlogs are on an iPhone, man.
Fucking incredible. Fucking incredible. I love this part and I love how he made this like jingle, which is like energetic and stuff. Do you still use it?
Yeah, I still use it because, I mean, on YouTube, you have to get that music that is not copyright, right? So it's very difficult to find new music all the time. So I just said, you know what, stick to this. we tried a few, this one worked best, so that's it. We just stuck to it since then.
Bro, incredible. And this is so good that you're filming it on the phone because the security is not approaching you and stuff.
That's the biggest problem, actually. We had all the fancy camera equipment, and then wherever he goes with that camera, everyone comes and stops us. Like, you're not allowed, you have to have a permit everywhere in Dubai now, especially if you're filming in downtown or if you're filming on the street or something like that. You're not allowed with a large camera. So that we had that problem a couple of times, and I'm like, you know what? The phones are so good now that the quality on an iPhone is 4K, you know? Why do I need a fancy camera equipment? Though we now, if it's an internal shoot, then of course we still do use our big Canons and all of those. But
so how did it all started, your social media journey?
Social media journey started a while back because I was always very active on Instagram. That was one of the platforms I've been using since back when it started. YouTube is something that I stumbled upon randomly. It was a few years back, I think maybe 3-4 years back now. So we used to make obviously videos of apartments and send it to clients. And I still remember I was at the Bugatti residences and I was making a video. And I had someone in my office who used to take our photographs and pictures and videos. And he's like, you know what, sir? If you're like taking a video, why don't you make a selfie video of yourself speaking, and then allow me to stitch it up together? And we can upload it on our YouTube channel, on our Springfield page. And I'm like, sure, that doesn't sound too hard. And I just made like a selfie video. Instead of the regular portrait, I made a landscape. And then I added a bunch of videos and he stitched it up together. He put it on YouTube and he got a lot of views. And then I was like, you know what? There was, back in the day, there was Ryan Serhan who was doing a fabulous job on YouTube. And I was like, you know what? Can you edit a video like this? And he's like, yes, I can. And then we made one, we made two. And then it just started picking up, and then I enjoyed, it was very encouraging because it was getting great views on my YouTube channel. And believe it or not, it was all shot on an iPhone, and never spent a single dirham on marketing. Zero marketing on my YouTube channel.
Incredible,
That's
brother.
I'm very proud of. Never spent a single dirham on advertising my videos.
Incredible.
Yeah,
so how did it reflect at your job?
Obviously now marketing is a very important part of real estate, as you know very well, since you have amazing presence online as well. It really helps for a company owner. It helps even more maybe because it helps us, get our company name out there. In the beginning, not a lot of people knew about our company Springfield, and I think after the YouTube channel, after the social media marketing, it really picked up. Really helped the brand, really helped us expand our team. And we were just discussing with 30 realtors back in the day, and now we're over 100, a team of over 100 people in the office, So obviously it attracts great talent, brings like-minded people together. So it's really helped us in our journey of expanding Springfield as a company, as a brand. And of course, from a sales side, it definitely helps. So I've done some really big transactions thanks to some videos on YouTube, Instagram.
Can you tell about one of them, which like was a big one?
So we've
that you
done
remember?
quite a few. In Dorchester Collection, I just recently did a transaction which the client came from my YouTube video.
You know
One of
what I
my
like about
videos.
YouTube? Like there are different platforms, but what I like about YouTube, like you filmed this video like 2 years back.
Oh, yeah.
2.5 years back. Yeah. Still brings you leads.
Still brings us leads. The only issue is now that the prices in Dubai have jumped up so much.
Oh, yeah.
That once you mention the price, you're like, oh, so I saw
Wait
what you
a
were.
second, yeah.
And I'm like, bro, you gotta like check the date the video is uploaded because in Dubai the prices are changing by the day.
You know, just today I made this story where I was making a video in 2018 about Imar Beachfront and the price there was 1.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually made a video on Beachfront where I've mentioned the price is 1.3 million. And people are like, what, 2.9?
Yeah,
what is
this?
all
Yeah.
about?
Now it's 3.3.
Yeah, 3.3 million. Sunrise Bay and Beach Vista prices. I mean, Imar Beachfront overall is doing really well. But yeah, that's the only, I think, disadvantage. But that's what I love as well about YouTube, that your content is there. And obviously, if it's an area that is well searched, really helps on Google SEO as well. And great for branding.
Do you have your favorite platform?
My favorite platform is definitely Instagram, because I think Instagram brings you actual conversations. YouTube is, for me, actually, it brings you more qualified leads. It brings you less, but it brings you more qualified. And I think you'll agree with that, because
100%, yeah.
it's still a bit more effort to go on the description and look at the number, and then it's a direct call. Sometimes people are, lying in bed at night and watching a video, and then they look at the number, and then, they might not necessarily call at that time. So, the person has to really go back, save the number, and then call at a time that is convenient for them. On Instagram, if somebody sees your story, it's very easily to, just reply back on that story. Hey, what's the price of this? Even if it's, at an odd hour, it's a lot easier to approach someone on Instagram by direct messaging them. So that's why I like Instagram, because it brings you a lot more qualified leads. Whereas YouTube is more, like I said, long term. You make a video once. It's a lot of effort though. Editing is, I'm sure you know better than anyone else. Editing it is a nightmare. But the content stays online and you get less but more qualified leads.
You know what I found in my experience, that I had a lot of clients who still DM'd me on Instagram, but they found me on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they were doing research.
It's an omnipresence.
And then they like go
platforms.
there, like check, is this guy still alive or not? What is happening? And then when I ask them, how did you find me? Like quite often it's YouTube. And yeah, as you said, YouTube gives you more qualified leads because they're doing research most probably.
Yeah. So they've done their research, they've seen the project, then they've made the effort to go on your Instagram and then actually DM you from there. So they've taken 2-3 more steps. So they're a lot more qualified. They're a lot more interested to buy, so it is very advantageous.
Bro, I'm curious to know, how do you deal with these leads? Not now, let's say in the beginning of your social media, when you had already YouTube, we're talking about like 18, 19.
Yeah.
I assume right now you distribute them to your team.
Yeah, of course. Even back in the day, I would distribute everything to the team, because we had a decent team even at that time. So I would distribute most of the leads, because on my Instagram I used to get a lot of leads. Now actually my YouTube's sort of going downwards, because I don't make enough videos, because I think I've filmed all the show villas and show apartments and we don't have as much in the luxury segment coming out.
I stopped doing it for 2 years, now I'm coming back.
It's very good, and I don't think anyone should stop. I always preach that, and I myself stopped, to be very honest. But now I'm coming back. But I'm still trying to upload a video, once in a few weeks at least, just so the channel doesn't die, because then the algorithm, sort of
yes, it's very difficult.
Forgets you, and then they feel like you're not as serious.
It's difficult to wake it up. I'm facing this issue right now. But how do you deal with this thing, like that? Like the client sees you on the video and you give it to somebody else, and they say, "Wait a second, where is Farooq?"
So generally, I don't want to say this on camera, but generally someone is texting them as me.
Okay.
All right. So my assistant, generally, she starts a conversation on the social media platform.
Yeah,
and then once she feels like the client is a bit serious, then she'll be like, someone from my team is going to get back to you regarding this and arrange for a viewing. And that's it. And then the agent takes it forward. And generally, I always meet the clients, because a lot of the clients that come from social media, they really follow me. They really like me. They want to close a transaction with us because they like the person they saw on YouTube. So then I end up meeting a lot of the clients, generally after the transaction is done. So, or right before the transaction is done. So it's really helped me, make sure that all the clients are taken care of. Because as an individual, how much can you do, right? Unless the client is like some super, looking for something, very
super expensive.
super expensive, then obviously then I'll, try to take care of that. But generally, most of the leads are distributed amongst the team.
And they don't have any issues with that, the clients?
Oh, no, they don't.
Because this is the thing that I felt. I tried to do this back in the days.
Yeah.
And sometimes I didn't inject more money for the advertisement and stuff. I could do this, but in some cases I did, in some cases not. This is the only thing that I was sending it clients to somebody else. I said, no, we want to work with Dennis and stuff. But maybe it works different when you...
It does happen. You're right. It does happen. Some clients want to actually get your advice because they follow you because they like you, not because of anything else. And then they feel like, what the hell, I texted this guy and then,
somebody else is
coming back to me. The whole idea of me reaching out, I could reach out to any agent to buy. The reason I reached out to Dennis is because I like Dennis. I don't want to like Mr. X or Mr. Y texting me back. But I think maybe, smartly kind of telling them about it. And then I'll generally have a phone call or, a conversation with the clients that are serious. And then I'll be like, someone from my team is going to handle the rest of the transaction. And then I'll generally, they want that last piece of advice or assurance that they're buying.
Are you sure it's okay?
Are you sure it's okay, Farooq? What are your thoughts about this? What do you think? Since obviously we've been in the market for a long time, where do you see? What's your projections about this property? So I generally step in at that time. So especially for if it's a larger transaction, I still remember a story that I always tell my people in my office when way before YouTube, way before I started, I'm talking about pre-2018, before my YouTube journey started. On Instagram, I was always relatively active, like by posting stories, and I post my entire life on my Instagram. It's not just work-related stuff, but even my, personal day out or something like that. And then one day, I remember I received a text from a lady, and she was lying down on the beach, and it was very odd. And there was a picture while she's tanning. So I can see her legs and I can see a building under construction behind her. And she's like, what building is this? So I felt a bit weird. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is a serious text or is this like a shady text? Anyways, I'm like, okay, there's a building under construction there. I'm like, okay, yes, this is one JBR. This is when one JBR was under construction. And then I'm like, and then she's like, okay, I want to have a look. Can you come over to show it to me? I said, yeah, sure. You know what? We'll have to go to the Dubai property sales center because there's no show apartment here. This is way before the building was completed. And she's like, no, come to my hotel. And then I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to her hotel. Then luckily she said, with my husband. I'm like, oh great. Okay. I'm like, okay, done. It's a meeting. Anyways, we ended up meeting in the hotel lobby and I explained them the building. Long story short, they bought nearly 50 million worth of inventory from me in one JBR.
Whoa, Jesus.
Back in the day. And this
such
is
a difficult sale back then.
And back then, really, there was 14 million of 4-bed. There was another 13 million 4-bed. There was a multiple 3-beds at 8, 9 million, 9 million. It was overall close to 54, 55 million worth of sale.
Wow.
So I still remember that started from a random Instagram DM. And that's not all. So they bought it at that time, direct from developers. So agents watching, they know the commissions on that were pretty good at back in the day. And then I resold all of them.
Wow.
After completion.
Oh, I remember you were so active with the
I was very active.
JBR.
That was one of my clients. I had quite a few people who bought from me in one JBR. So I did a lot of sales in that building. But it all literally started from a random direct message. And that's when I felt like, okay, wait, I can make some serious money on social media. I was like, wait a second, this is not a joke, because previously everyone would make fun of me. As in, I mean to see my friends and my family, they're all like, Farooq loves to post on social media, because no one was really using social media as a mean for business, especially in real estate. I mean, now every realtor's on Instagram.
Yes.
But I'm talking 2015, 16, 17. Instagram wasn't really that actively being used for business, especially real estate. And I was using it at that time, and I remember it really brought some big sales through the door.
Bro, incredible. Back then it was so difficult to sell this project.
So difficult. Now, of course, it's like the hottest cake in town. But back in the day, it was very difficult.
And so many others like Blue Waters and some
Blue
other
Waters,
stuff.
I remember we used to be struggling 5 years payment plans.
7.
Clients used to be like, what the hell, 7 years, and I still remember. Golf place was such a hard sell. Now look at those guys who bought the 25-75 payment plan. They're what? Quadruple their money, maybe even more based on their investment.
Yeah. Bro, is your social media right now part of your company strategy in terms of the marketing, or it's like something comes, okay, we are focusing on the paid leads more, like
I think it's overall. I mean, I think no, we can't just rely on our personal social medias. There's definitely a lot of paid campaigns that you have to do in
100%. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, unless you are an individual, then of course you can survive on just your own leads if you pick up, but you have to have an omnipresence on all different social platforms. And even in marketing, we have to be, on everywhere. Like when somebody asks you what sort of campaigns do you do, I'm like,
everything.
Everything. Like literally, I don't think there's one sort of platform that we're not doing paid marketing on. Mm-hmm. We're all over. We're Google, LinkedIn, of course, Facebook and Instagram, obvious. But literally every platform, TikTok, Snapchat, Google AdWords, obviously Google AdWords is a big one, and all sorts of different mediums that we're using for marketing. Mm-hmm. Especially when it comes to, because we are primarily an off-plan selling agency. So we sell mostly off-plan. And, we are very diversified amongst different developers. So no single developer makes over 20% of our overall sale. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, so we are focusing on so many different developers, which means that we have that many different marketing campaigns to do as well. Because if you're just focusing on one or two developers and you're just sort of, the whole team is focusing on just them, then, you sort of have, but for us, we have to have multiple different channels for marketing. And now international marketing is doing really well.
Oh, for sure, yeah. What do you advise your agents to do social media? Let's talk about new guys.
I push them to do social media. Mm-hmm. I tell them you cannot be a realtor in today's Dubai market if you're not present on social media. I don't think it's just to become famous, but it's to add credibility. There's a lot of brokers out there. There's some numbers, some people telling me there's over 40,000 brokers right now in Dubai. The only way you can gain trust, especially when selling off-plan, because you have to remember, most brokers have access to most developers. So you're not selling a differentiated product. You're selling a very undifferentiated product. So I will deal with Dennis if I trust Dennis, if I believe in his, if I believe in your capability of giving me good advice. And I believe social media today is such a strong platform to build that rapport with a client, to build that credibility. Most important, to build that trust with international clients. So I don't think you can be, go under the radar, especially if you are a new agent. Of course, if you're an old agent, you work on referrals, you work on your old clients, you work on, your people, other people that your people know, you have all sorts of incoming source of leads. But as a new agent, you have to be on social media. And that is one of our requirements in the company as well. Mm-hmm. Anyone who's coming in has to be on social media. We will support in terms of videographers, because we have a pretty big team of videographers now in our company. And we are pushing everyone to be on social media.
Oh, what would you do if you, let's say you just came to Dubai, you're the experienced agent back home somewhere. You come here, you need to choose the company and start making as soon as possible some income. How would you approach this thing? Like, to choose the company, how would you choose it? Obviously, it's a biased question. Like, go to Springfield.
I would go to Springfield, 100%.
And what would be your strategy in order to start closing faster?
So, as an agent, someone who's coming over from overseas, in this industry, you have to have the knowledge and you have to have the expertise of the area. So, getting into a company where you have a good mentor is very important. You could save a few years of your career or fast track a few years in your career if you are under the correct mentor.
How do you identify
I don't mean
this?
to say I wouldn't always go to the largest company or the smallest company. It all depends on, you have to do your research online, and that's why social media plays a big role. There might be someone who's really famous on social media, but he might not have the time for you. to mentor you.
I don't think
You know?
Farooq has time to speak with the
No,
guys.
I'll tell you, I don't have 100% time, but I try to, spend as much time as I can with my team. So if you actually look at my day, 80% of the day I'm in my office. 80%. You'll ask everyone in my office. I'm generally the first one in my office, and most days I do not have meetings outside. Most days. So I would say at least 70% of the time of the week I am in my office. And during that time, what I've tried to do now over the years, once our team has been expanding, I have delegated a lot of the administration roles, and I spend as much time talking to the team.
Mentoring.
So if you look at my Instagram, you'll always see me standing in front of the TV or standing in front of the projector and talking to the team. So, of course, one-on-one mentorship, is obviously its time is divided between the team as well. But I try to spend as much time as I can on the sales floor, discussing, brainstorming, because Dubai's real estate market is so fast. Projects come out, get sold very, very quickly. So I try not to spend any time, or drain any of my time in the accounting part or, in the more sort of administration roles as the CEO of the company. I try to spend as much as my time as I can on the sales floor, because I'm a salesman first. I've always been the leading salesperson in my company since we started. So I understand sales and I enjoy it, because I don't get that adrenaline rush, till I don't see a good deal closing. So I spend a lot of time. So anyways, coming back to your question about new agents, they need to make sure that they are in a company whose culture sort of feeds on education or breeds education. Social media is becoming a big part of real estate advertising and marketing. So a company that would support a new agent coming into the country to get started on this platform. Like I always say, it's not necessarily, once again, the largest company or the smallest company. Sometimes I know people can get mentored really well in a more boutique organization as well, because they have that much more time with the leaders in the company. Sometimes if you're in a very large company, it doesn't always mean that maybe the owner of the company has to be your direct mentor.
Yeah.
An associate director in the company, a
Another
sales
colleague.
manager, another colleague. We have a mentorship program in our office where we make sure that all the new agents, they have somebody to go to who would either be a team leader or an associate director or another senior agent to work with, especially in the beginning till they don't close their first deal. Because I know in real estate, you're not going to get advice from the CEO all the time. If it's a small question, sometimes new joiners might be embarrassed to ask as well.
Yeah,
go to the boss's office and go like, dude, I have no idea what the hell these guys are talking about. Please explain to me. So you need a colleague, you need a mentor, you need someone who you are comfortable with. And generally we do it like our top 20 agents. They are generally the mentors for all the new guys. So if you are a mentor, of course, they get sort of a commission cut out of the new joiner's commission as well, if he closes the deal, just so it's kind of worth the senior agent's time as well, because otherwise the senior agent's not going to give his time, right? His time is worth a lot. So, and the new agent doesn't mind, because, he needs that mentorship in the beginning. He needs that help in the beginning. So that's been very, very successful in our company. And we've seen some new agents just come in and close their first deal in their first month, in their first couple of months, and big deals, because offline, you understand, are bigger transactions. Just recently, we've had an agent who came in and made 400,000 dirhams in commissions just in his first month.
We work in a crazy industry. Like, where else you can get this?
I've had agents so many agents that have come up to me, and literally one I remember very vividly, because he's a very dear friend now, who came to me with nearly tears in his eyes when he had his first deal that he closed in real estate. And he said, sir, I've been in Dubai for over 10 years, and I've been, obviously different jobs, and, I have a good job. I have my family, I have my kids over here. And it's my first commission I've made in this company, and it's more than my entire year's salary. He had tears in his eyes. He's like, dude, this is a place where I think my dreams can come true. And that's not just one person. I've had a number of people come up to me and tell me, this was my entire year's salary at the bank. This is my entire year's salary at this company. So we are lucky to be in this industry at this time, where Dubai is a growing city. in this place, Dubai, we're lucky to be in a city like this.
Yeah, and managed to stay in the industry after Corona. Yeah, so many
Exactly.
people.
So many people left. They're probably crying about that now.
Yeah,
looking
for
at
sure.
the market right now.
Bro, coming back to this new joiner, would you go for the offline or would you go for the ready?
Personally, we do a lot of off-plan, so it's something that I've always done. So obviously, my recommendation would be biased towards what I know how to sell. However, a new agent depends. Now, it depends on what level the agent is at as well, right? Now, I've had a lot of new agents right now. So we recently opened up our new office as well.
Congrats.
We expanded just 3 months ago. Thank you. So we've been on a hiring spree as well. And we've hired a few agents. I just hired somebody who came down from Europe, and he had a lot of experience, in Sweden, in the real estate market. And he came in, and I told him, why don't you start in doing smaller deals? He's like, no, I can't. I have to just attack the top segment of the market. And I said, okay, but it's a lot more competition. Like, it's okay. He's like, I've been doing this in Sweden. I know how to deal with ultra high net worth people. I'm not going to waste my time because that's not going to make me. He's like, I'm okay if I don't close a deal for 4, 5, 6, 7 months. I don't care if I don't close a deal for a year. I'm okay. I'm financially covered. So it depends. If you are financially covered, then you can maybe spend more time targeting the upper segment of the market. But a lot of people are coming in that need to make money from their second, third, fourth month, or they don't have that much of financial backing. For those people, I think getting into secondary sales, getting into rentals makes more sense than off-plan. Because the first question I always ask agents when I interview them, are you financially covered for at least 6 months? If you're coming to Dubai, you're brand new, you have to be financially taken care of, which is your rent, rent a car as well, at minimum, and of course, food, money to go around the city for at least 6 months. If you do not get into off-plan. Because even if you do close a deal in the first 2 months or 3 months, it can take up to 6 months to get the commission.
Yeah.
And companies don't support you in the beginning. Maybe, yes, of course, after you've closed your first deal and, things like that, then maybe you can ask for, a small little advance. Something like that could work. But generally, you need to, it's actually more advisable if you don't have that much backing to start in the secondary sales and start in rentals, actually. Because rentals is a lot more faster. You get paid very quickly. The amounts might not be very big, but at least you get paid very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my advice.
Bro, you said that you really like sales and you were a top performer in your company. Tell us about your transition from being a sales guy to the manager. Did you start? Did it impact your income? Well, obviously there is I think that it's a natural transaction in your case, but
because my family business. So,
but was it your initiative or you had to take this position?
So my story goes back. Story goes back to 2006, 7, 8, when I started my real estate journey. It was prior to me joining university. So it was the summer between my high school and university. That is the time when I started working in the real estate market. I was 16 years old. I didn't have a driver's license. I worked as an admin in real estate for a company in Dubai. Actually, it was a small boutique firm. They're still around, actually.
Wow, they're still around.
Yeah, they're still around. Amazing lady who was managing the company. She was a very motherly figure for me because her son was my age as well. She was actually from Russia. Really mentored me really well. Super lady, very, very nice. So that really sort of sparked my interest in the field. My father and my family had been here. I've lived here my whole life. And my father was an investor in Dubai's real estate market since 2001.
Whoa.
So basically the first time Dubai real estate came out, my dad was in the lines for Emaar and Green, Springs, Meadows, all of those communities. So my dad actually pushed me to get into real estate. He said, you know what, we are investors, you get into this field. We were in a separate business. We were in the car rental business.
Okay.
We had car rental business, and then we had a few restaurants. So in the restaurant car rental business, very different from real estate. So I got into this in 2008. We started Springfield when I was in university.
Before or after bad news?
Sorry?
Before or after bad
obviously before the bad news. So 2008, February, I believe, our license is from February 2008.
But you had few months to roll, yeah.
Yeah, so we had 6, 7, 8 months, really good time. And my father, and at that time we had started Springfield with 2 other partners. So it was my father and two other partners. And obviously, I was had a little bit of know-how, having dabbled in the real estate market here and there, had done a few transactions, had a lot of friends and family buying real estate. So many of them routed the deals through me. So I had a little bit of nice experience, but I was still very, very young. And then the crash happened. 2-3 years, you were just trying to get our finances sorted. We had bought a lot of off-plan back in 2008 because everything was off-plan at that time. A lot of projects at that time got cancelled. A lot of inventory that we had bought was, probably worth nothing because we had paid 10% for an off-plan project where the prices had gone down by 50%. So we were technically at default with the developer, so didn't have much rights. Anyways, sorted out those issues. I graduated from university, went to the US for a couple of years to do my MBA, came back in 2012 end. All right. So 2013 is when we basically reformed Springfield. So we, our other partners, they left the business. And then my father and I, we basically restarted the company in 2013. So I basically took on the role of CEO from day one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
But we were a very boutique, small company. We were just 3 people. Then over the years, we obviously expanded, grew the company. My 2 brothers are with me as well, who've been a huge support. So my brother is now the managing director of the company. My other brother is the chief operating officer of the company. I'm the CEO of the company. So it's a family-built company, family-run company, which has been a huge benefit for me. In the beginning, it was mostly us doing sales, us selling to our own clientele. And obviously, you understand the first 4 or 5 years of the company, it was very difficult to start growing. I always say growing.
And the
a
market
company
was difficult back then. I joined real estate in February 2013.
Okay.
So I know very well how it's...
more or less, yeah. So it was a tough
was.
market at that time. And then 15, 16, 17, 18 were still, Dubai was on a downward decline. Commissions were high, but sales transactions were very low. So, but still survived that time, enjoyed great sales, and then slowly expanded the company. And then, of course, social media really helped boost me up as a company owner, as an organization, as, attracting good talent, like I said. And I'm happy to say, I'm lucky to say that we actually have brokers who've been working with us for over 10 years now.
That's incredible.
Multiple. So a lot of them are our associate directors now. They've been with us since the start of our journey. Most of them have been with us for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So I'm happy to say, obviously they're making money. Obviously they're getting the support that they want, which is why they've stuck together. So I'm happy to say our retention rate has been very, very good. But yeah, it's always a challenge expanding a company. You always go through ups and downs when you're running a business. You always have a new challenge because the moment you have very good brokers, they have that many more requirements. So when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, they need that much more support. So it's always a challenge running a business, but that's what excites me, and that's what gets us going.
Bro, you said that you're spending right now a lot of time with your team and you have meetings, you are mentoring them. What are some of the main messages that you're trying to convey to them on these meetings when you're trying to...
So most of our meetings in the office on the sales floor are generally discussing and brainstorming about the latest launches. So, for example, Imar launches a new building or a new project. We will stand on the sales floor, go over those projects, and then have sort of a Q&A brainstorming session that why would someone buy here? What are the rentals going on in this area? What is the return on equity that a person can expect once they invest? I don't know, for example.
Return on equity is one of the best terms that comes, yeah?
Return on equity, not return on income. But obviously the rental returns, what's the market going on in this area, just so that there's a lot of times when 20, 30 people, 50 people sometimes, on Monday mornings we have nearly our entire team on the sales floor. We have nearly over 100 people sometimes on those Monday morning meetings. But during the week, obviously the entire team is not there in all our brainstorming sessions. But whenever we have 20, 30 people, right, like-minded people who are selling off-plan, there's always so much more information you get. And that's why I think it's the advantage that you get being in a company where there are top performers, where there are agents. I'm happy to say most months our top agents make in the millions in commission. And obviously, I'm sure it's the same at your company as well. And it's great that sometimes just sharing the sales floor with these top individuals gives you a lot of insights. into
For
those
sure,
projects.
100%.
If you're sitting with one of your colleagues that sold, I don't know, a Dorchester Collection apartment, you always can go and ask him, like, how did you sell this? What was the unique selling feature? What was the client looking for that made you suggest him this project? They'll always give you insights better than what in some cases the developer salesperson will give you. Because developer salespeople, you don't understand. They come to the office, they give you a lowdown of the project, but it's sometimes your colleagues that will give you that actual insight, over your coffee break or over your lunch break, that you're sitting down and discussing, like, why did your client buy, I don't know, this Como penthouse? What made him want to buy this? What did you compare this project with? What are the other options you showed him that made this an attractive proposition? I remember back in the day, beachfront. I still remember very clearly when Imar Beachfront was selling at, I believe, 2,000 dirhams a square foot. And I think it was Fawaz who was the sales head at that time. And I remember giving a presentation to my sales team on the sales floor. And I remember Fawaz walked by like, dude, you are drilling your team. And I was telling them, like, guys, this area is going to touch 4,000 dirhams a square foot. And people like, hey, come on, like 4,000 is anything in Dubai? 4,000?
But 4,000 back then it was like...
It was double of what they were selling for. I remember Royal Atlantis was selling at 4,000 dirhams a square foot, 4,500 dirhams a square foot. And we never thought that, and we used to be like, man, who's going to buy at 4,000?
Bro, it all comes as a surprise on us.
But I remember there was a time where Fawaz had told me that, Mr. Alabar had said that this area, in my opinion, should be worth close to 5,000 dirhams a square foot. So as a sales broker, if you're able to believe that, you will be able to sell. Because a lot of salespeople, sometimes they're unable to convey that conviction. And a lot of times it happens to the brokers who've been in the market for a very long time. And I'm sure a lot of people are watching this who might be brokers, who've seen the, downward years of 2015, 16, 17, 18. So sometimes they're not confident enough.
It doesn't help us. Yeah,
sometimes it actually makes you feel like,
when you experience, you feel, and this is something that you can learn from the new guys who comes to the industry. Like, yes, you can learn from the experienced guys, but I sometimes look at the new guys, they're so excited about everything.
And you're sitting here like, dude, I've seen their shit times in Dubai.
and I'm telling them, like, look, I think you should be a little bit more optimistic about this. But now, like, some time passed and fuck, he was right. I was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, look at Royal Atlantis now. I mean, Atlantis, the Royal, sorry.
Royal Atlantis. I don't know why, but it's the Royal.
It just doesn't come on my tongue now, But the Royal Atlantis now, 12,000 a square foot. 11,000 a square foot transactions happening. I mean, the prices some apartments, not all, but some of them have tripled.
And how difficult it was to sell back then.
I remember because I did quite a few transactions in the Atlantis the Royal, and I've done a lot of handovers now recently. I've done the helicopter tours and all of that, and I still remember, like, my clients are thanking me.
Oh yeah,
they're thanking me, like, Farooq, wow, like, thank God you pushed me to buy this. And at that time, I remember some of my agents like, do you think I would rather buy a garden home? I would buy, no doubt, a garden home would have been a great investment as well, but the Atlantis the Royal is, prices, all waterfront properties have just picked up. I would suggest a lot of the brokers that are watching this that compare, especially when selling off-plan, always kind of study international markets as well. That has helped me quite a bit in selling off-plan. Comparing Dubai to other major cities around the world can really give you an edge while selling, because a lot of our buyers are now international buyers. They will study not just Dubai, but other international markets as well. If someone in, I don't know, from your country, Moldova, has money, Dubai is not the only city that he could be considering. He could be, the world's open for you. If you're a 100 million dirham guy or a 50 million dirham or whatever, 20, 30 million dollar guy, the world is your playground. You could decide whether to put your money in New York, Singapore, Dubai, London. All these cities are open for you, and all the gates are open for you if you have money. So why would you choose Dubai? So understanding international markets, comparing Dubai to international markets, with Dubai is still much, much cheaper than most international markets. I won't say all, but most countries. There's multiple studies talking about how Dubai is still so much more affordable than most cities. In Dubai, you could buy 4 times as much real estate as you can as compared to Singapore or as compared to London or New York. So it really helps when doing the sale, when you're selling off plan as well to international buyers.
When you're pitching to the investor, what kind of profits do you kind of not promise, but tell him that he can expect?
It all depends on the project to project. I mean, if you're buying prime real estate has done really, really well in Dubai. By prime, you understand what I mean, waterfront properties or properties by major developers in major communities, which are either on the water or closer to, attractions like downtown, Creek Harbor, Dubai Hills, Heartland by Shoba, beachfront, Palm. These areas are what I define as prime real estate. So if it's prime, and the price is right. Once again, not all prices, in my opinion, without taking any names, could be right. Sometimes the same developer might launch a couple of projects where one I think is actually a good deal, and another maybe I'd be a bit, careful, or I would tread a bit carefully before investing. So in terms of returns that clients can expect, I mean, the last year we've seen nearly 20%, 25% gains, across different areas. Some have doubled as well. Some have gone up by 20, 30%.
Yeah,
but prime real estate always goes up. I think still Dubai is going to go up. There was a study by Knight Frank, I remember recently, a few months back, where they said Dubai's real estate market is expected to increase by 13.5% this year, according to their forecasts, which is 3 times higher than the second city on their list of projected
incredible.
growth.
That's a good point.
So 13.5% was Dubai's expected growth, and the second city, I forgot which it was, the second and third were both at 4.5% increase and 4% increase. Once again, we don't know the future. We don't know whether those numbers will actually be done, but all the signs point forward, point upward for Dubai. And Dubai, as you know, is a city that always takes advantage of whenever there's problems happening around the world. The Russia-Ukraine war, supply chain issues during COVID, the way Dubai handled everything. The world economy isn't doing that amazing. And I think Dubai is taking advantage, and Dubai will continue to take advantage of that over the course of this year. So I think still, if you're buying prime assets, prime real estate, you will make a profit. In terms of percentage, like I said, if the study proves us right, it'll be 13.5. I personally think the way the markets moved this year in the first 4-5 months, we've already nearly reached that number. And towards the end of this year, it could even be another 20% increase in terms of the market. So in terms of return on equity, because now the developer sales, the developer payment plans are a lot more aggressive as compared to what they were before.
90-10 now is the mark.
10, and most developers are now becoming more and more aggressive in their payment plan. But I still believe not everyone gets into real estate to gamble. Not everyone gets into real estate to get 100% appreciation over a couple of years. If it happens, great. And I always tell my clients this. I mean, if it goes up by that percentage that it did in the last few years, you'll be in super luck. And I'm sure you'll thank me. But don't get into real estate hoping to double your money in 2-3 years, because that doesn't happen all the time. There was a market cycle. It's already reached, we've already had
certain
level. I wouldn't say nobody knows the top, nobody knows the bottom. It could potentially go upwards as well. So come in with a positive mindset, but I cannot promise you that you will double your money. I can only advise you that this area are promising due to this factor. And I believe that there's a lot of potential for growth here. And I believe long term, this area will benefit from these few reasons. If you're selling Dubai Creek Harbor, there's a very good future that is, coming up with the tallest tower coming up. All the other areas across the Al Khail Road are getting developed. Everything on the other side of the creek is developed. So this parcel of land is very prime, Emaar being a top developer. There is a good story with that area. You're a waterfront. Now the latest Creek Waters 2, I just recently did a transaction 2 days ago where we sold a whole floor, and the client was asking me like, why do you think this is the right property that I'm buying? Because obviously with this amount of money, I could buy something else. And I told him I personally believe that Creek Harbor has a great potential for growth. I think it has not reached its full potential. Creek Waters 2, I believe we sold the whole floor at about 2,400 dirhams a square foot. I still think there is a lot of room for growth. If today projects in downtown, if you look at the new Bugatti residences selling at, ranging from 6,500 dirhams a square foot all the way up to 10,000 dirhams a square
It
foot.
looks like you always use price per square foot when you compare the project.
I mean, that is one metric that we use to compare.
But is it the main one for you?
You can't always compare price per square foot because location makes the biggest difference. You know, if I'm comparing,
Even within the same location, sometimes it's
of course a different developer. I mean, if it's an Imar building, you know the quality is very, very high, whereas another developer could be charging you 300 dirhams less per square foot, but the quality could be completely different. But at least it's some sort of a metric to compare, right?
Do you offer or will you offer Bugatti residence to your clients?
I think so. For someone who wants to go for, every project speaks to different clients, and there's clients who want to be very unique. There are some people that believe Bugatti is a great investment as a car. I'm just talking about car. Some people think it's the most ridiculous thing ever created. To spend 10 million dirhams on a car? Like, what the hell? I would rather, I don't know, buy 5 Lamborghinis, or I would buy, I don't know, 50 Mercedes Benzes, or I would give charity for 10 million dirhams to somebody and, be happy with the S-Class that I'm driving. So everyone has a different mindset. If you are the guy that wants to stand out, wants to be different, takes quality and standard of living to a very, very high requirement, is a very, top of, the list of your terms of requirement, and you want to be different, then yes, I would offer Bugatti residences.
I would offer it as well. I really like it.
I think it's a beautiful building.
For the personal use, outstanding.
Architecturally, it is a marvel.
Yeah.
So people who care about design, people who care about exclusivity, all right? Some people argue that, the tower is not on the water or it's not on the beach. Yes, it's not, and I don't think it's meant to be. But if you look at the plans, it is a phenomenal tower.
Yeah, amazing.
And I'm sure Bugatti is going to do a great job with it. And I would definitely, for someone who has the budget, who has the money, and who wants the exclusivity. It's literally, someone asked me this question as well. This is 7,000 dirhams a square foot. I would rather buy something on the water, which is, Imar beachfront selling at 4,500, 5,000 dirhams a square foot. Why not go there? I have a beach downstairs. I said, yes, sure. If that's what you want, then you should go for Imar beachfront. But if you are a fan of the brand, I have a few friends who own Bugattis. And if I sit with them and I talk to them about Bugatti, they will go on and on for hours. And they're obviously very, very successful people because they are obsessed with a certain design element of the car, or the fact that it goes so fast, or the fact that when they sit in that car, the whole world is staring at them. When they arrive at a parking lot, everyone stops sipping their coffee and looks at them that, who's that guy in the Bugatti? So if you are someone that feeds off that, or who feels special, you would love living in the Bugatti residences. The moment you come and tell somebody, I live in the Bugatti residences, that in itself is going to give you that pleasure that is worth the 7, 8, 9,000 dirhams a square foot that you're paying for that building.
Mm-hmm. Bro, what would you recommend somebody to buy if he has a budget of 2 million dirhams?
If you have a budget of 2
for
million
investment
dirhams,
purpose.
For investment purposes, not to live in it, or
to investment,
invest,
to flip it.
To flip it, and 2 million dirhams cash, if he has 2 million dirhams cash.
Let's like cash, yeah.
All right. Then I would suggest him to go for areas like Dubai Creek Harbour. I think they have a lot of potential. There's still some ready great deals available. In downtown, there are a few buildings that are getting handed over right now that I think are just about to really go up in price.
Can you name them?
Downtown Views 2. I think if you get a good deal in that building, I think it'll go up in value. Forte Tower, which is going to get handed over very, very soon. The prices are still attractive, and I think prices are going to jump up quite a bit. Of course, you have to be smart about getting a good deal there. Act 1, Act 2, I think the building is going to be phenomenal.
So all of them are secondary?
Secondary, yes, of course. I mean, if you have 2 million dirhams cash, I would rather you go
You will not go for the off-plan?
I would go for off-plan if you have, because of course, if 2 million dirhams, you would only invest 10-20% of that money. Then what are you doing with the remaining 1.8 million dirhams? So if you are someone that has a requirement to, I don't always, even though I sell off-plan, I always ask my clients, what is it that you want? If you want to just put that 2 million dirhams, do you feel like you have more money coming in the future? If you're in your business and you have some other cash flows coming in, then go for off-plan. But if you just want to have 2 million dirhams and not invest any more money, then you would rather buy something which is ready, and then, you feed off the rent and the prices can go up. Because there's still, we do Secondary as well. We don't not secondary real estate.
He just have a lot of stock in Act 1, Act 2, and he needs to upload it.
No, I don't. I myself, I'm invested in downtown. So
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
Oh, tell us,
I'm holding it. I don't think it's the time. I think those buildings will give me very, very good return in terms of short-term rentals, and that's what I'm keeping them for.
Tell us more about your investment strategies. Like, how do you approach it?
So we as a family, I would say, is a very well-diversified portfolio. Primarily, we were mostly invested in just Imar in the beginning, but now we've bought a few things, townhouses, villas. So we have a very sort of diversified portfolio of villas, townhouses, and apartments in high-end areas and in sort of the mid-sector areas as well, like JVC, Studio City, IMPZ.
And do you buy it
prime real estate as well, townhouse, villa communities as well, literally from DP communities all the way up until District 1 as well. So we have a sort of a diversified portfolio. So for rentals, I think the townhouses and villas have done really well for us. But now we're trying to diversify and move more towards holiday home rentals. So for these properties in downtown, I think holiday homes will be phenomenal rentals because we have a holiday home company as well in-house, which my sister actually manages. So everything is like sort of family run. And she's doing really, really well on holiday homes. So that, I think, if you want high return on equity, you will do really well on holiday homes.
Do you sell your properties, or you just guys buying and building your portfolio?
We more no, we don't sell as actively. So we're not like actively trading because a lot of our time goes more into managing the company, doing offline sales. So a lot of the property that I've bought maybe 10 years ago, we still have it. Or 8 years ago, we still have it. Or some even for 20 years, we've owned villas in Springs, Greens. We've still held on to some things.
Do you recommend your agents who are doing well to buy something in real estate
100%.
or to diversify it?
I always push them to buy real estate, especially our agents who I know are making a good amount of money. I always push them to buy real estate. And I'm glad and I'm very happy that a lot of the agents that have worked with us for a long time are today investors. Because when you have that eye for investment, right? Even whatever money you have, doesn't matter, even if you have $500,000 dirham, there are a lot of agents that make commissions in the millions. At least start to put some money into real estate. It will give you a different eye as a broker, because when you are an investor as well, right, you look out for opportunities, even if it's something small, even if it's you're buying, I don't know, an apartment in JVC or Arjan, get in the market, because it makes your job as a salesperson much more easier.
For sure, yeah.
When you tell clients that, what, I bought this villa in District 1, I think it's a great deal. Why? Because obviously when you're putting your own money, you're going to do a shitload of research. So when you've done that amount of research, I can today sit down with anyone and convince them to buy a property which I own myself as well. Because I know the ins and outs of it. I know exactly how much rent I'm getting. I know exactly how much it cost me. I know exactly the history of the property. So whatever property that you can get into, at least start investing, because how long are you going to sell? How long? You are eventually going to burn out. Or with time, you want to spend more time with family. I'm experiencing that as a father now. I'm a new father. I've just been a father for 2.5 years now. My first and only son or only child is 2.5 years old now. There used to be days that I used to love spending in the office till 9 p.m.
Yes.
9:30 p.m. 10 p.m. we used to be sitting down. Me and my two brothers were just sitting inside the office. Sometimes just chilling in the office, because we just love staying in the office. And now it's like 7 p.m. I better be home because I have 1 hour with my child. 1.5 hour in the evening with my child. So, things change with life. So, you want to start having a fixed source of income when you're working as a real estate agent. And it's sad and unfortunate for me to see a number of real estate brokers that have never invested in Dubai itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really push everyone that at least start putting some money on the side, because it's going to make you want to work much more harder when you have a liability over your head that, I need to reach these payments on these dates. I have a payment plan. Or if, you're buying a ready property, I have these mortgage payments to do. At least get in on the market. It'll push you much more to work harder.
What about some other purchases for agents? Like when is the right time for him to upgrade his car, his style, like watches and other things. Like, do you have any advice or your take on this?
I think presentation is extremely important. I'm one of those guys sometimes, and I can be very
I'm asking the guy
honest.
who's on Rolls Royce. So,
No, but I can be very brutally honest with my own agents. You have no idea how many times I've walked up to my own agent. I'm like, you know what? I don't like. I think you should always be a fresh shave, fresh haircut. I don't know. You're very fresh.
How long
yourself.
it takes you to put this haircut? A few minutes. This is your signature.
I do this
thing.
every day, so it takes me a couple of minutes, not more than that. I just had one of my colleagues in the office before I came over here. He's like, "What hair product are you using, sir?" I'm like, "I'll tell you, but you have to promise me not to tell anyone else." I'm joking. It's a Sios hairspray that I use. It's amazing. It just keeps your hair like that if you're going out for viewings or back. But your question, when should an agent upgrade? The first and foremost thing an agent should upgrade is his look. At least invest in a suit. Invest in a good, once again, a lot of agents, I don't like to wear a suit. I like to be, okay, sure. If you're wearing a Dior shirt or a Louis Vuitton shirt, okay, great. Yeah, sure, go in your casuals. But if you're not and you can't afford to, so please dress formally. It always gives, your client that confidence that this is, a professional agent. If I'm an overseas guy, come from London, and I see you in a super smart tie, the way you're dressed, I'm going to judge you in the beginning. And if somebody says, don't judge a book by its cover, is all bullshit. People always judge a book by its cover. A client, before investing his millions of dirhams, is going to look you from head to toe and see, okay, is your presentation up there, before he will decide whether he wants to work with you. So the first and foremost thing an agent should do is upgrade his look. The moment you earn your first few dollars, invest it in a nice suit, in a nice whatever look that you can do. All right. Second thing, obviously, watches and cars and these things take time.
What comes first, car or watches?
Oh, car for sure. Car is your most important thing. You're as an agent, especially in Dubai, the driving city, you can't take public transport everywhere. I mean, then you're very limited. Especially in off-plan, if a client calls you, you need to drive to the developer sales office, drive to the location, take him, and most under off-plan locations are, not on the public transport routes. So you have to drive. So car is very important. Of course, if a client, especially in off-plan, since there's so much competition, a client is going to judge you.
Oh, 100%.
If you show up in a beaten down 15-year-old car, and you're not wearing a suit, and you're just...
And even if you are in the watches, this watches looks fake.
Yeah. Watches, I think, would be after a car, maybe, but at least you should show up very smart. If you can't afford a car, be dressed very nicely. Make sure your hair is cut. Make sure if you have a beard, the beard is done. If you're a girl, make sure your hair is nicely done. Spend some money on your clothes. Make yourself look presentable every day. And these are little things like nails not being cut. Your beard not being made. Your shoes being dirty. Trust me, people judge you, especially in that upper segment of people who are coming in to buy multi-million-dollar properties from you. They're going to judge you. Things like the perfume that you're using. The fact that you're smelling good, the fact that you're looking good makes a huge difference when selling real estate, and especially when you want to move up the ladder. Then obviously comes car, showing up in a decent car. I'm not saying everyone needs to show up in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, then it just looks a bit awkward when you're going for a viewing, but at least a decent car. And then of course watches are always nice to have. Then you can start, then I'm sure people like yourself, when you're sitting down with multi millionaires, then these are the things that you sit down and discuss, right? Watches, cars, yachts, so,
yeah, something like that.
So an agent should definitely first and foremost concentrate on their look. Makes a huge difference.
For sure. Guys, we came to an hour, a little bit more than that. We can continue for
hours and hours. If two agents sit down in a room, conversations.
let's discuss this developer.
Hey, we can go on
How
and
we
on
lost
and on.
that deal and others. I'm sure you got some useful information over here. I forgot to remind you guys that you need to make stories and tag Farooq in the stories, but I hope you did it, or maybe you can do it now. Just mute me. So
Thank you, Dennis.
So it doesn't look like I'm asking you. Bro, thank you so much for passing by and sharing your journeys, your takes on social media and some other stuff. It was very insightful.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I had a lot of fun.
Always a pleasure to meet you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. And thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for watching.